Hyper Light Drifter is a stylish game that plays a bit like The Legend of Zelda if it were pumped up on a quad shot of espresso. I give it high marks across the board for visuals, sound design, and gameplay. However, some players may not jive with its vague storytelling, and replayability is limited. Hyper Light Drifter's story revolves around a nameless swordsman, the Drifter, and his quest to rid the world of a looming evil, all while battling a mysterious sickness that ravages his body and afflicts his mind with horrific visions. At least I'm pretty sure that's what it's about. An interesting feature of Hyper Light Drifter is that it doesn't really have any dialogue or much in the way of text at all, for that matter. Conversations between characters are summed up with images instead of words. Any other hints about the game's backstory have to be inferred using the ruins and remnants scattered throughout the game. Encoded messages are also hidden throughout the game in areas off the beaten path. These provide more clues once decoded, but still leave aspects open to interpretation. This style of wordless storytelling doesn't give players much information about the world, but it still manages to be engaging. I only wish that there was more of it available to explore. When it comes to gameplay, the core of Hyper Light Drifter is solid. Players trek throughout the land battling enemies in order to gather crystals and activate mysterious pillars. These unlock doors and open up paths, eventually leading up to the final boss battle. The combat mechanics, however, are where the game really shines. Combat is quick and deadly. It only takes a few hits to down the Drifter, so players have to use their mobility to stay out of harm's way. Attacks are simple, but chaining them together while dashing in and out of enemy groups feels enormously satisfying. The only real downside to Hyper Light Drifter's gameplay is that the game is fairly short, and it doesn't offer much in terms of replayability. Beating the game unlocks New Game Plus, but that would have been better labeled Hard Mode, as it doesn't add any new content, and all it really does is make the game more difficult. A big part of what makes this game so enjoyable is the loving attention to detail given to its visuals. In fact, the visuals are a big reason why I picked up the game in the first place. When I first saw the game's concept art and early shots of the game's screens, I was immediately drawn in. I wanted to know more. And after I finally got the game, my favorite part about making progress in the story was the fact that I got to see new places. Each of the game's 4 sections take place in different environments, which keeps the journey from feeling samey. Stacks of books rest in unread piles, ancient flames continue to burn, and crystals pulse in their secret compartments. Animations for both Drifter and enemy alike are smooth, detailed, and fun to watch. Small things like the movement of the Drifter's cape and ambient motion in the environment set this game apart as a stellar example of retro-style visuals done right. The sound design for Hyper Light Drifter further underscores the game's visuals. Swords hum with electric energy, dashing into a wall yields a painful thud, raindrops ping off the metal of ancient wreckage, and sidearms yield a satisfying impact. The game's neo-synth soundtrack fuses well with Hyper Light Drifter's neon palette and 80s future tech look. Appropriately ominous or serene, audio accents pop up at all the right moments to give the game's atmosphere that much greater depth. In the end, whether or not you will like Hyper Light Drifter really depends on how you feel about game difficulty and story detail. If challenging gameplay and impressionist storytelling sound good to you, get this game. If the phrase "die and try again" makes you feel frustrated already, you should probably sit this one out. Personally, I love the game. It's got gorgeous visuals, impressive sound design, and tight combat mechanics all tied up in a delightful package of an ambiguous narrative with an immersive atmosphere. I give Hyper Light Drifter an 8 out of 10 would buy again.